A Very Brave Troop, A Bug's Life, Book 8. And I just read Book 7, and I did 5 yesterday. If you notice, we're missing 6. So I do apologize. I thought I had them all. We don't have 6. But today we're going to read 8. Dot's Blueberry Troop was having its weekly meeting. Teeny suggested another bake sale. Dot was not excited. It's our 3rd one this month, she complained. Just then, Flick stopped by. If you want excitement, just start with a new idea. I know. What if we went camping out at Clover Hill, said Dot. That's a great idea, cried the others. But now they needed the Queen's permission. The Queen was concerned about letting the Blueberries go camping on their own. We'll bring Affy, suggested Dot. I'm afraid that's not enough, replied the Queen. I'll go with them, Flick volunteered. The Queen hesitated. Flick's big ideas sometimes got him into trouble. Still, she knew the trip was important to the Blueberries, so she finally agreed. The Blueberries cheered. They couldn't wait to go. And there's only 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And Affy might go, and Flick said he would go. So there'll be 6 things going. Dot and the Blueberries met Flick the very next day to begin their journey. Look, everyone, said Flick. I've created a raft to get us to Clover Hill. Oh, this should be exciting. Well, it looks pretty good. It's a leaf, and he looks like he's got some vines around it, and he's got what he might use to steer it with. We'll see. The raft gently bobbed down the river. Dot saw rapids ahead. That means fast water. How do we steer this thing? Dot asked Flick. Steer, said Flick. Well, I'm glad you asked. Just then he pulled out a twig from inside the boat. He put one end in the water and began to steer. Wow, Flick, you think of everything, said Dot, smiling. I wonder what's going on there. As soon as they arrived at Clover Hill, the Blueberry Troop found a safe place to camp. Flick had been in the wilderness before and had some advice. Not everything in nature is good for you. Like those berries you're about to eat, Teeny. They are spicy and hot, hot, hot. Oops, cried Teeny. Thanks, Flick. Oh, so those berries would not have been good. But maybe the flower is good. And seeds and the petals, just not the berries. Suddenly, Affy started barking wildly. What's wrong, Affy? Dot asked. She whistled and her pet came running to her. The other Blueberries looked around, but they didn't see anything unusual. It's probably nothing, said Tina. Affy does not look happy. Let's go look for raspberries, Teeny suggested. Okay, said Flick, but first let's hide all our stuff. We'll leave Affy behind to guard it. When they had finished, Dot gave Affy a hug. We'll be back soon, she told him. Oh. No, he doesn't look sad. Maybe he does look okay. Maybe he's just fine being left. Well, that looks like an ugly thing. The Blueberries didn't know it, but at that very moment, grasshoppers were approaching. That's why Affy had been barking. Hopper, his brother Molt, and Thumper were flying low over the forest in search of food. "Hey," cried Molt, "I see a good place to land." He led the others to the exact spot where the blueberries had chosen their campsite. That's not good. Meanwhile, Flick and the blueberries climbed up a mountain ridge. Dot ran ahead. "Come on, everybody," she shouted. "The berries are over here." As she scrambled up the ridge, some rocks came loose. "Be careful, Dot," yelled Flick. "If you knock loose one rock on a hill, it can start a whole bunch of other rocks falling." "Whew, that was close," said Dot, as they all walked safely to the berry patch. Oh no. Affy does not look happy. Looks like he's going to bite somebody. Back at the blueberries campsite, the grasshoppers were exploring. "Hey, look what I found," called Molt. He was holding up the brave but helpless Affy. "I'm not interested in a little aphid," snapped Hopper. "Go find me something to eat while I take a nap." But Molt thought the aphid was cute. He quickly trapped Affy under a shell before he and Thumper set off to search for food. Poor Affy. Up near the berry patch, Flick looked at the sun. "It's getting late," he said. "We should head back to our campsite." "I'll bet Affy will be happy to see us," said Dot. There's all the berries, and the sun's going down, and the clover. Flick and the 4 blueberries who are eating berries. But just before they reached their campsite, Flick and the blueberries stopped short. There were tracks in the dirt. "Grasshoppers," Flick explained. "Grasshoppers," the blueberries gasped. They were scared. The grasshoppers had been nothing but trouble to the ants. Well, I can tell you grasshoppers are trouble to me because they eat my garden. The ants I can live with. "Who knows how many there are," cried a frightened Teeny. "Maybe we should go home," suggested Dash. But as the blueberries were about to head back to the ant colony, Dot stopped them. "Hey," she cried, "what about Affy?" I bet he's still where we left him," Flick said. "Wait here, girls." Flick crawled over to some bushes and peeked at their campsite. It was very quiet, I'm sure. Flick saw Hopper napping at the very spot where Dot had left Affy. Poor Affy, thought Flick. Then he saw a nutshell hopping across the ground. Flick knew in an instant that Affy was stuck underneath of it. See, that shell is hopping all over the place because Affy is not happy to be in there. Hopper's taking a nap while everybody else is doing the work. Flick reported back to the troop. "How can we save Affy?" asked Dot. "Well, we've got something the grasshoppers don't," Flick answered. "We have big ideas." Then he gathered the girls together to make a plan. I hope it's a good one. Affy looks fierce. A little while later, Molt and Thumper returned to the campsite with some food for themselves and Hopper. After eating, Molt went to play with his new pet. I don't think Affy wants to play. But as soon as Molt lifted the nutshell, Affy heard a noise. It was Dot's whistle. Molt didn't know what it was, but Affy did. The little aphid ran off. "Hey, wait up," cried Molt as he chased after him. Affy ran away from Molt as fast as his little legs would carry him. He headed right up a small ridge. Sure enough, the ants were waiting for him at the top. There's Affy and two of the girls. And as soon as Affy was safe with Dot, Flick and the blueberries started rolling rocks down the hill. The rocks knocked into more rocks. Soon dozens of them were headed right at Molt. Oh. All of these rocks are flying through the air and rolling down the ground right at Molt, so he can't get up there. After Flick, the blueberries and Aphid had found a place to hide. Molt slowly pulled himself out from under the rocks. Molt thought. I wonder what made all those rocks fall down. But soon Molt was thinking of something else. Food. Up ahead was a sign reading, "Free berries, really tasty." Molt's eyes grew wide. Berries? Hopper will be really happy if I bring him some, he said to himself. And who remembers what kind of berries those are? I don't think they were the good kind. Look, Hopper, called Molt when he reached the campsite. Berries for dessert. These better be good, threatened Hopper. Then he and the others gobbled up the berries. Ah! They screamed. The berries were the super hot ones Flick had warned the girls about. So he is trying to get to the water. Oh, they're all trying to get to the water. The blueberries are watching, and all three of the grasshoppers are trying to get to the water because the berries were super hot and they ate them. That's what they get for not being very nice. The grasshoppers ran to the river and plunged their heads in, slurping the cool water. That's when Flick, the blueberries, and Affy decided to sneak out of their hiding place. They headed back to Ant Island as fast as they could. Because the grasshoppers are in the water, their heads are in the water, they aren't paying attention to anything. So Flick and Affy and all four of the blueberries are just quietly going away. I guess this means we're not going to bop me on the nose now, Molt said to Hopper. Nope, I'm not, responded Hopper, but I am going to make you finish your dessert. He's making him eat more berries because he's angry that he brought him berries. Not very nice. But look who got to safety. Back at Ant Island, Dot and the blueberries told the Queen about their adventure. The Queen was relieved that everyone was safe. She even congratulated Dot and Flick on their quick thinking. It just goes to show you, said Flick, a few big ideas can go a long way. Dear Blueberry Journal, grasshoppers are such pests. Thorny says sometimes when a group of grasshoppers stop for dinner, they will eat every single plant in sight. And yes, that's true, they can. Then they'll end somewhere else and do it all over again. And they sure do make a racket. When they rub their back legs on their wings, it makes a roaring noise. When a bunch of them get together, it can sound pretty crazy. If I were their mother, I would give those grasshoppers a timeout until they behave themselves. Till next time, Dot. So the grasshoppers really are a pain. I don't like them either.